Hi there. Welcome to the Freezerworks 2018 Learning Series, your visual guide to our sample management software. Today's a little unique because we're going over a tool that only exists in the base version of Freezerworks, a batch entry tool we call Clip. With or without a barcode scanner, Clip allows you to quickly create up to 100 samples and aliquots with identical data. If you are using the Ascent Edition or higher, check out our regular batch entry series to learn how to create samples in a similar but more powerful way. But anyway, let's log into Freezerworks Base. Before creating any samples, you first need to ensure Clip is set up properly in System Properties. If it's already set up for you, go ahead and skip to the next section. If not, open the System Administration menu and select System Properties. Let's focus in on this box titled Clip Configuration. First, you're going to select the fields from ones that you've configured that will act as a storage date and discard date for the Clip process. These dates will be filled for every sample and aliquot created through Clip, so we just need to pick the fields that will hold the data. I've created storage date and discard date fields to be simple, but they can be any date fields in your system. The next dropdown is the ID field for every sample that you'll be scanning or manually entering into Clip. If you are scanning labels, this is the field that corresponds to the ID values on those labels. If you are manually entering IDs, this is simply the field you use to identify samples in Freezerworks. I'll go with my field sample ID. Finally, the default number of days to hold samples field simply corresponds to the range between the default values for storage and discard date. Storage date always defaults to the current date, so by entering 30, discard date will default to 30 days from now. You'll see this in action in just a second. Alright, let's save System Properties. Then we want to open the Inventory Management menu and select Batch Enter Clip. Here is the Clip form. You'll start by setting all the fields that will apply to each sample and aliquot, up to 100, created by this process. Start by selecting the freezer and freezer section you'll be storing the aliquots in. If you have an alias, you can use that instead. This will set the NAP in the lower right box. If you'd like to modify it at all, click the Change NAP button to edit each subdivision field. When you're finished, click Save, and your changes will be reflected by the new NAP. The program will also search the 100 positions following the NAP to see if there are any filled positions that may need to be skipped. If there aren't any filled positions, the program will simply display none. Next, move to this left box and edit the storage and discard dates if you like. As you can see, the discard date defaults to 30 days after the storage date to reflect my entry for number of days to hold samples. Lastly, I can set the sample type for each sample created by this process, as well as the current amount for each aliquot. Let's set sample type to whole blood and amount to 20, representing 20 milliliters of whole blood for each sample. Now we can move on to scanning. Remember the field I chose for scanning in System Properties was Sample ID, shown here. I'll place my cursor in the first ID box and start scanning. Remember that each ID represents a single sample with a single aliquot, stored in the freezer position displayed to the right of the ID box. You have 4 tabs of ID fields that your cursor will automatically move through consecutively as you scan, up until you get to the last ID field on the last tab, 91 through 100. You don't have to fill all 100 IDs, and you also don't have to do them consecutively. If you leave any boxes empty, the position will simply be skipped and a sample will not be created. If you notice after scanning that you missed a couple IDs, simply place your cursor in the box you need empty and click the Insert button. This moves all the IDs down so you can fix a single box. If you add an incorrect ID, just use the Delete button to get rid of it. Once you're done scanning, click Save. You will receive a confirmation telling you how many samples and aliquots you created. Click OK, and you are given another blank Clip form to perform another batch entry if you wish. Instead of that, let's click Cancel, open our landing page, and find the samples and aliquots we just created. Let's search for sample creation date of today. And here are the 18 whole blood samples we just created with CLIP. If we click the aliquots tab, we can see the 18 aliquots created with them. And that's all there is to batch entry CLIP. If you need any more assistance, see our help guide, or contact our dedicated Freezerworks support staff. Thanks as always for watching. See you next time.